Hours after it was warm and quite comfortable last night. It's a little chilly at the ballpark today. We got game 2 between the Phillies and the Florida Marlins.
It's not chilly. It's cold. This is not good.
I'm thinking just chilly.
It's not chilly. This is miserable. End
You're
of
at
May.
the ballpark. Got a sold-out crowd. The Phillies are taking the field. And we'll take a look at the Florida Marlins lineup. Freddie Gonzalez in his 3rd year sends this out against Joe Blanton. Emilio Bonifacio will lead it off at 3rd base. Jeremy Hermida, the right fielder, bats 2nd. Hanley Ramirez is the shortstop hitting 3rd. Jorge Cantu, the cleanup hitter, is at 1st base. John Baker makes the start behind the plate. In fact, he'll probably be in the lineup tonight and tomorrow. Dan Uggla, the 2nd baseman, hits 6th. Cody Ross, the center fielder, bats 7th. Chris Coughlin is over in left field once again. He'll bat 8th. And batting 9th at pitching is left-hander Andrew Miller. And that lineup will be posed tonight by right-hander Joe Blanton, making his 9th start of the year, 2-3, with a 7.11 ERA. And Wheels, he was pretty good for the first 4 innings of the game against the Reds last time out.
He's starting to get a little bit better, Tom. He's hitting his spots a lot better. You know, he's another guy who's kind of a precision type of pitcher. He really has to get the ball where he needs to get it because he's not going to overpower hitters. And there you see the scouting report on it from Southwest Airlines, 87 to 91. And control is important. And see if he can try to build off those 4 innings you just mentioned in his last start when he was really good against Cincinnati at Cincinnati.
Yeah, he spent the time in between starts working on his delivery from the stretch. He didn't give up a whole lot of base runners in the first 4 innings, just 3 hits overall, but that 5th inning really hurt him, and he saw some things that he thinks will help him tonight and as the season moves on.
Well, it's time now for our Key State Chrysler Jeep Keys to tonight's game on this beautiful, as Tom said, night for baseball. We got to start playing better at home. You know, it's just one of those things. The Phillies somehow are 5 games under 500 at home, playing in front of these great crowds, and you got to correct mistakes. They had some glaring mistakes in that game last night that just shouldn't happen, and Charlie Manuel and the staff have addressed them.
Well, Shane Victorino talked after the ball game last night about the steal attempt that he made in the bottom of the 9th inning with Matt Stairs at the plate. The Phillies down by 2, and he said, all right, I flat out made a mistake. I blew it. And Charlie Manuel let him know as soon as he came off the field. And usually Charlie waits until the game is over before he addresses those kind of things. Well, here's Bonifacio to lead things off, and Blanton starts him off with a fastball outside. So we're underway here at Citizens Bank Park.
Pedro Feliz way up on the grass because Bonifacio can really run, and he will bunt sometimes.
Bonifacio among the league leaders with 11 infield hits this year, and that's because of the speed that he has, particularly from the left side of the plate. And there you see Pedro in on the grass, and that one's off the foot of Bonifacio, so it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bonifacio leads the National League in at-bats with 190. That tells you a couple different things. One, that he's played a lot, but the other thing is he doesn't walk that often.
No, you don't necessarily want your leadoff batter to lead the league in appearances, plate appearances.
His on-base percentage is just .296.
Well, plate appearances are okay. It's at-bats. If you have a ton of at-bats, you know, that means, as Tom said, you're not walking. He started off really hot, and he's come back to earth.
1-2 the count to him. And that one's looped in the air, shallow right, Utley on the run. And the wind brought it back a little bit, and there's out number 1. During the 2009 season, Turkey Hill will contribute $100 for each Phillies victory and 5 cents for each carton of Phillies Grand Slam ice cream, sold to support the Phillies youth baseball and softball programs. And so far, $2,400 has been donated based on the victories for the Phillies. With 1 away, Jeremy Hermida stands in. Hermida hitting .275 on the year, 4 homers and 17 RBIs. He was 2 for 5 in last night's ball game against Jamie Moyer in the Phillies bullpen. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. There's Wes Helms, who was the offensive star in last night's game. Think about it. Wes had 3 hits in last night's game, including a 3-run home run, 4 RBIs. But he could have had 4 if Jimmy Rollins didn't throw him out on that first hot shot in his first at bat.
And he was safe.
And he was safe.
but he wasn't. It was like that pitch wasn't called a strike last night.
2-2 the count to Hermida. And speaking of the umpires, the home plate umpire is the crew chief, John Hirschbeck. Wally Bell is over at first base. Marty Foster's at second. And Marvin Hudson is around at third. And Blanton tried to get Hermida fishing on a breaking ball, and it's 3-2. Hanley Ramirez waits on deck for the fish. Pretty good spot, and it's slashed foul. So Hermida stays alive. Jeremy Hermida has something in common with Joe Blanton. Both were first round picks back in 2002, and what a class that first round was. Pops that one up again, left side. Feliz over, and he reaches up and makes the grab right above the tarp. I didn't think he was going to have a chance to get to that ball, and then I thought it was going to be 2 or 3 rows back.
He did a great job too of staying under control there, knowing exactly where he was. Watch him take a couple peeks as he heads over. There's one. Now he takes another look just to see where the tarp was and to see how much further he had to go. 2 peeks, and a great job by Pedro Feliz to know exactly where the danger was. It's like when you're playing golf and had bunkers up front, take more club.
Well, 2 away here in the top of the first inning. Here's Hanley Ramirez, and Ramirez takes one for a strike. It's 0-1.
Boy, pitchers really appreciate that, because you know, guys are out there trying to get hitters out as quickly as possible, not throw a whole lot of pitches, and you know, you get a play like that, you get a guy out, it really helps.
And Blanton's thrown 13 pitches so far here in the first.
Well, Hermida was fouling all kinds of pitches off on him too, really making him work hard. And then Feliz goes over there and makes a play like that.
Well, the other thing too is that the wind shifted as Hermida was at the plate, and the wind now is moving from right to left, so that was kind of carrying that ball over toward the stands.
Yeah, it did move it towards the left field corner.
Little number to the right of the mound. It's going to be a good inning for Joe Blanton as he retires Hanley Ramirez, and the Florida Marlins in order here in the top of the first. No score after the top of the first, with the Phillies coming to bat. Right fielder Jason Worth. Pedro Feliz, the third baseman, bats 7th, followed by Carlos Ruiz, the catcher, and Big Joe Blanton batting 9th and doing the pitching. And they'll face young left-hander Andrew Miller, just 24 years old. In fact, he just turned 24, making only his 5th start of the year.
He's the center in their front court of pitchers. Unbelievable. 6 foot 11 guy, and there's a report on him. He has really good fastball, curve and changeup, tremendous prospect. All depends on whether he can throw strikes. When he does, he can be really tough.
Well, they just threw a strike there to Jimmy Rollins to start this at bat off. Andrew Miller spent some time on the disabled list earlier this year with a strained oblique muscle.
6'7".
6'7".
Yeah, which is tall.
It is still tall.
Yeah.
You have him at 6'7". Volstead at 6'8". Josh Johnson at 6'7".
And they got another guy in the minors.
Sean
really
West.
Tall.
Sean West is up here with them at 6'8".
Right.
1-1 is pulled towards shortstop. Ramirez backed off on that. Boy, he is having trouble throwing the ball. Look at Jimmy just tuck it under the tag from Jorge Cantu.
Well, the ball might be wet, Tom. You know, that's one of those things. It's kind of a misty, rainy night, and that ball might have been wet, and it slipped on him. And Jimmy, that's why you run out your ground balls. You never know. That's a routine out, but you run hard, and you never know what could happen. Look at that ball go out of his hand like a screwball. And Jimmy does a great job of avoiding the tag. You never want to go head first into first if you can avoid it. In that case, good play.
Very athletic by Jimmy Rollins, and he's aboard on an error charge to Hanley Ramirez, the 38th error of the year for the Florida Marlins. Let me think about that. The Phillies as a team have committed just 13.
Well, the game started with an error last night. Only on the play as it continued, Jimmy was thrown out at second as he tried to advance.
Shane Victorino moves back up to the number 2 spot tonight. And Ramirez's defense has been better this year. As we said, that's just his 3rd of the season. And he hits this one sharply right past the third base bag, heading to the corner. Rollins around second, heading to third. Sam Perlazzo's looking in. Now he's going to wave Jimmy home, but then Jimmy turned and looked at the ball and stopped at third. And the Phillies have to settle for second and third with nobody out. The left fielder Coughlin bobbled the ball, and Sam Perlazzo saw that, and Jimmy took his eye off of Sam.
Right. And there's a point where a base runner can be on his own and not need the coach. In that case, when you're coming around and the play's behind you like that, you really rely on the third base coach. And he did stop him. There's no doubt about it. But we'll have to see what happens down the corner. As Tom said, there must be a bobble down there. Here comes Jimmy. Now, see, he's watching it. That's good. Now, at this point, you pick up your third base coach. He shut it down when Perlazzo put the stop up. Now, that's what Sam saw right there, that the ball got away from Coughlin out there in left field. But you're still second and third and nobody out.
So second and third, nobody out for Chase Utley. And Chase back in the number 3 spot. Takes that one low, and it's 1-0.
Yeah, the only problem with it is you know, you do have a couple left-handed hitters. You know, left-handed hitters coming up in a row, and you would have had a run there without having to worry about this guy against the left-handed hitters.
Well, Chase has done quite well against lefties this year. He's hitting .313 against them. Overall, he's 3 for 9 against Andrew Miller. That's 1 ball and 1 strike.
They're conceding a run, playing the infield back. Let's see, you saw Sam waving him there, but Jimmy had already shut it down at that point. Now it's too late. But he obviously had put the brakes up, and that's what stopped Jimmy Rollins.
So let's see if the Phillies can get the run home here with the infield back, 1-1 to Utley. And it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Well, Chase, as numbers were released today from the All-Star balloting, is first among second basemen. 675,596 fans have voted already for Chase. Ryan Howard's 3rd. Jimmy Rollins is 3rd. Raul Ibanez is 6th right now in the voting. So hopefully he'll climb up, because you know he is as deserving as any outfielder, if not all others in the National League. And it's 3-1 to Chase. Now what happens is the top 3 vote getters in the outfield will start, and Ibanez is 6th among outfielders. He can still make it, of course, if the manager and Major League Baseball chooses to put him on the team, and the manager just so happens to be Charlie Manuel.
The manager gets to see him play quite a bit.
Ball 4. The bases are now loaded. So the Phillies have got a rally going here in the bottom of the 1st inning with nobody out, with Rollins on 3rd, Victorino on 2nd, and Chase Utley on 1st.
Mentioned about Miller, and here comes Mark Wiley out to talk to him right away, the pitching coach, that he can be very, very tough when he throws strikes, but he's a guy who can get wild, and you really need to be patient on him, especially early in this game before he can settle down.
He's walked 14 in 23 2/3. We mentioned that he was bothered by an oblique strain that sent him on the disabled list earlier this season. It came off on the 14th of May. And he says that his new motion, which is different from last year, he doesn't turn as much before he delivers to the plate, is what caused that oblique strain. Andrew Miller said that his body just wasn't conditioned to have such a drastic change in the motion. So while he was on the DL, he took care of a little bit of his core.
First inning, Ryan Howard last night. First pitch from Chris Volstad, almost over the bricks into Ashburn Alley, and then later, breaking ball out over the plate, and another long one, deep to left center field.
Well, speaking of home runs, the Lucky McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Kathleen Jarby from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If the Phillies hit a home run in tonight's game, then Kathleen will win $100, compliments of McDonald's. And Ryan lays off a breaking ball, and it's 1 ball and no strikes. Introducing McCafe Coffees at McDonald's, a new line of lattes, mochas, and cappuccinos, and they'd go pretty well in a game like this.
Really deep in the outfield, all 3 outfielders. See how deep they are. You get a base hit right here, you have a chance to get 2 runs real quickly, especially with Shane Victorino, the runner at second base.
Jimmy Rollins is on third. Wheels just mentioned Victorino's on second. Over at first is Utley. And the 2-0 down low, 3-0 to Ryan Howard.
Really, much as Charlie likes to give him green lights, you almost think he'll take one here.
They figure with the trouble he had against Chase Utley, which led to Mark Wiley going out to the mound, he might be better off taking a pitch here.
Yeah, he's all over the place.
And he takes a fastball for strike 1.
Naturally, it's right down the middle. It's just, that's a take time.
7 career grand slams for Howard, including 2 this year. And there's ball 4. It's an RBI for Howard. Back-to-back walks by Andrew Miller, and the Phillies go out on top 1-0. And the Phillies' success with the bases loaded continues. So Howard's aboard. That RBI is 34th of the year. Utley's on second. Victorino's over at third. And Jimmy Rollins is in the dugout. And Raul Ibanez is at the plate. Ibanez hitting .345 with 17 homers. That's tied for first in the league. His RBI total is first in the league. And look at Raul's numbers with the bases loaded.
He likes it.
Take it all the way. It's 2-0.
Just they're doing a great job of not being impatient too. You know, the scouting report on Miller was do not chase early in the count against him and let him get wild, and that's just what's happening.
So Ibanez is ahead, and he takes one at the knees for strike 1. He may have just been taken there too.
Yeah, I think he probably was just taking on his own there because he has confidence in himself that he can spot him a strike.
Ibanez has an RBI in 10 of his last 11 games. And he pops that one up. Foul territory. Bonifacio over toward the stands. And he runs out of room.
He's not as tall either. As Feliz, who went over there, made a heck of a play closer to the tarp than that.
Now, you'd hate Ibanez to hit into a double play to see Pedro in the dugout waiting to hit. But they are allowing the Phillies to score another run. They're trying to get some outs.
Oh, yeah, they're just trying to stay out of a big inning right now.
Raul's done well against lefties this year, hitting .321 against them. And he hits that one foul. It remains 2-2.
Pumping a lot of fastballs and gave the velocity there in the scouting report. I think he's had 87 and 93. And he evidently does a lot of that, and no reason why. I think sometimes watching him in his delivery that he just has different velocity on his fastball because of the way he delivers the ball.
And Ibanez sends it in the air to center field. Pretty deep. Ross is back. That's going to get a run home. Victorino tags from third. Utley tags from second. And the Phillies are going to lead it 2-0. Another RBI for Ibanez. His 44th of the year. And good base running by Chase Utley to get back and get over.
Yeah, and a good, exactly, Tom, good out there by Ibanez. because you produce a run and get another runner to the third where you can score on a fly ball. And that's what you're supposed to do with nobody out. Make sure if you're at second base, you hang around that bag. There's Raul, got in on him a little bit, still hit it deep, and Utley can see how deep Ross is in center field. So he gets back there, tags up, moves over to third as Victorino scores.
So far, so good for the Phillies here at the bottom of the first inning. And now Miller has to contend with the right-handed part of this Phillies lineup. Jason is 0 for his last 13 and 2 for his last 28. That's why his average has dipped down under 260.
Well, it started in Cincinnati.
At 0 for at Cincinnati left Jason shaking his head as he got onto the plane as the Phillies are heading to New York.
Well, and this is what happens when you're scuffling. Every time you look up, it's 0-2. And then you chase.
In the dirt, nice play by Baker to keep Utley at third, but Howard's going to scamper up to second. So the Phillies have 2 runners in scoring position now on the wild pitch uncorked by Andrew Miller.
Yeah, it's not like Worth grounds into a lot of double plays. He has this year a couple times, but now that takes that away. Good job by Baker, just selling out. Look at how he took that right off the top of the chest protector and almost bounced over his shoulder.
They play the infield back for Worth, and Jason takes a strike at the knees, and they're 2 away.
That's what's happening with him. He just take a lot of fastballs and hittable pitches. You can't be looking for anything with 2 strikes because it's almost like that's what he's doing there to get a pitch right down the middle and freeze on it like that.
2 outs. Pedro Feliz at the plate. Pedro is the Phillies' leading hitter with runners in scoring position.
Now Miller and the Marlins are looking at this as pretty good. If we get out of this with just 2, Phillies are thinking, boy, a 2-out hit here would be sweet.
Because it would score 2. And Pedro pops it foul, and it's 0-2.
Now all of a sudden Miller's jumped out 0-2 on 2 right-handed hitters. It's almost like he has better command against them than the left-handers.
See where Pedro sits in the National League with runners in scoring position, 4th behind Brad Hopp, Joey Votto, Yunel Escobar. He's thrown a lot of pitches in this first inning.
Yeah, 27, 12 and 15, 12 on the balls, 15 strikes.
And Pedro lines it toward third. Nice play by Bonifacio from his backside. He's not going to get the throw over to first in time. And Pedro's going to have an infield single and an RBI. And the Phillies lead it 3-0.
Bonifacio saved a run there. That ball looked like it was in the hole when Pedro hit it, but it knocked him down. There he goes to catch it. Oh, he dove for it, and now he's done.
He probably shouldn't have even thrown it.
Absolutely, Tom. Just hold on to it now.
So the 8th man to bat in this inning, as we see Bonifacio again laying out for that one, is Carlos Ruiz. Carlos lines one toward left field, but he's right at the left fielder, and that's the final out here in the bottom of the first inning. But the Phillies send 8 men to the plate. They get 3 runs, couple walks, couple big base hits. They lead it 3-0. of the ball game, and they're hoping to raise 180,000 pounds of food in the Philadelphia area throughout the year in celebration of the 180th year of the Philadelphia Inquirer being published, and all those food donations will go to Phil Abundance here in Philadelphia, and it's a great cause. I was part of one of those earlier this year at one of the Citizens Bank branches in Philadelphia, and those folks at Phil Abundance who do such a great job were very appreciative of all the items that were given out. Jorge Cantu leads things off here in the top of the second inning. And Cantu is behind in the count, 1-2.
What you want to see Joe Blanton do is pump strikes. Philly's got 3 runs, one earned in that first inning, and just keep throwing strikes, and take advantage of your club giving you a 3-run lead in the first inning.
Well, the Phillies gave Blanton a 5-0 lead out in Cincinnati the other day. Actually, it turned out to be a 6-0 lead.
Yeah.
Remains 1-2 to Cantu. See, Cantu has struggled during this month of May with a .217 batting average, and part of that is because of a sore wrist, which was really bothering him when the Phillies were in Florida earlier this year. He missed one of the games because of that sore wrist. And he hits this one in the air to left field. Ibanez is back, and the wind kind of knocked it down. So did the rain, and there's one away. Well, the Toronto Blue Jays are coming to town Tuesday, June 16th. Now, this is right on the heels of that Boston Red Sox series here at Citizens Bank Park. It's a 3-game set against the Jays, 7:05, 7:05, and then 1:05. There are seats still available for all 3 of those games, including the 17th, when the Phillies will honor Jackie Robinson prior to the start of that ball game.
Yeah, Toronto trying to turn their program around. They were off to such a great start, leading the American League East. They are winning 2-0 tonight at Baltimore, but boy, have they fallen on some hard times.
Yeah, the Red Sox have taken over first place in the American League East, and during this losing streak for the Blue Jays, which is now up to 7 games, the Yankees have overtaken them for second place. John Baker's the batter, and Blanton's ahead, no balls at 2 strikes. Blanton tries to again work inside, so it's 1-2. John Baker did not play in last night's game because the Phillies had a left-hander on the mound. Ronnie Paulino did it. He had an RBI single, and Baker's down on strikes for out number 2.
Well, that was a good job by Joe Blanton to backdoor breaking ball there to Baker. Pitched him in throughout that at bat, and then threw the backdoor breaking ball here. Carlos sits up in the outside corner. Boy, a little quick slider. Got it. Nothing you can do about that.
Well, Wheels, his first 4 innings against the Reds, his last time out, were his best 4 innings of the year. No doubt about it.
Same thing he's doing right now, Tom. He just pounded the strike zone and got ahead of hitters. He was throwing strike 1 to almost everybody, and he's throwing strike 1 here today.
Including to Dan Uggla, who's down on the count, no balls and 1 strike.
Or even tonight.
Still light out. I could take today.
Yeah, well, barely lighted. That mist falling right now, but they feel they could play through this tonight no matter what happens and get the game in. Sure didn't want to get into another doubleheader situation or even the off day on Thursday.
And Uggla off the end of the bat flips one to left center field, and Victorino's going to play it on a hop. And Uggla, who was 0 for his last 8 before that base hit, is aboard with a 2-out single.
Well, it looked like he threw an off-speed breaking ball there, and he just got too much of the plate with 2 strikes, and that's the way to go after Uggla, get him to chase, because he will swing at off-speed pitches.
And that leaves things for Cody Ross here in the top of the second inning. Ross was 1 for 4 in last night's ball game. And he hits one in the air to straightaway center field. Victorino on the run to the warning track toward the wall, reaches up, and he can't get it. It takes a hop over the wall.
Ooh, big break.
It's a ground rule double, and that's a huge break for the Phillies.
Because Ross crushed that thing, and Uggla's going to score easily.
And now, instead of 3-1 Phillies with maybe a runner on third, It's still 3-0 Phillies with runners on second and third.
There's Victorino trying to do a Willie Mays on Vic Wertz there, and he couldn't quite get to it. There's only one Willie Mays at Vic Wertz catch, but that was, would have been similar.
Came awfully close to making that catch.
Would have been a great play.
It's reminiscent of Aaron Rowan going back on Xavier Nady on that play, making that over the shoulder grab against the Mets a few years ago when he ran into the fence. 2 away, and here's Chris Coghlan. Coghlan with a home run and 5 RBIs, had a couple hits in yesterday's game.
Well, they have a base open here and the pitcher on deck. You hate to turn the lineup over here, but you don't want to get hurt either and give up a base hit, and all of a sudden it's 3-2 with 2 outs.
And they're working away from Coghlan here.
Yeah, they're pitching around him and see if he'll chase. He's a young hitter, and that's what they wanted to see on those first couple pitches, see if he'd chase.
Coghlan led off in last night's ball game for the Marlins, and Freddie Gonzalez was saying today that he was thinking about putting him in the leadoff spot, even though Bonifacio was going to play, and now they're going to walk him intentionally.
Right. And the reason they didn't do that, and Charlie's gone over that over and over and over, is Freddie Gonzalez, their skipper, is with Moyer last night. The guy's 46 years old. He's a veteran pitcher. Jamie Moyer knew what he had to do there. He just didn't execute. It wasn't like they had to tell him or stand up and throw ball 4.
Well, and that was in the 6th inning against Ronnie Paulino. And this one by Miller is rolled right at J-Roll, and he'll toss it over to Utley the short way, and the inning is over. So Joe Blanton strands 3 here in the top of the 2nd inning. More importantly, though, they'll still have a 3-0 lead going into the dugout. Test at csnphilly.com. Well, that is a great promotion. In fact, I saw the trophy today, Wheels, and they got your fingerprints off of the spindles from the night it was here at the ballpark.
Well, I scared them that night.
Yes, you did.
I had no idea you weren't supposed to hold it by that thing.
Well, Wheels, we were talking about that play by Victorino. Watch as he goes back, and watch how similar this play was to Aaron Rowan going back against the New York Mets.
Yep, there's without the padding, of course, at the time, and splat. And Aaron Rowan caught that thing and somehow held on.
With the bases loaded, and that ended that inning. It was an unbelievable play. And Victorino came up just short of that one. He's waiting to hit as Joe Blanton leaves it off here in the bottom of the 2nd. The Big Joe rolls one up the 3rd base line. And it's 0-2.
Well, and they did a really good job in that inning after that double of not pitching to the left-handed hitter Coghlan, who showed last night he can make contact. It's a huge momentum swing if he were to get a little bleeder there and knock in 2. All of a sudden it's 3-2 with 2 outs. So they pitched around him, then walked him intentionally, and then Miller hit the first pitch into an out. Still 3-0.
Blanton 1 for 11 this year. And he'll be 1 for 12 after this ground out. And there's one away. Well, here at Citizens Bank Park in a cool May night. It's not often you say that. Along with Chris Wheeler, I'm Tom McCarthy. Close to a capacity crowd, if not at capacity, and a chance to watch game 2 of this 3-game series while you get a chance to watch it in HD. The Phillies are going to try to get closer to the 500 mark here at home. They are 5 games under the 500 mark here at home at Citizens Bank Park. And Carl Graber, our statistician, Wheels, put together this unbelievable note. Phillies are 8-13 at Citizens Bank Park, 16-6 on the road. Only one other team in Major League history was at least 10 games above 500 on the road and 5 or more games below 500 at home this early in the season. And you remember this team, the 1916 Giants.
Right. That's a year after Fenway opened and the Titanic sunk.
Well, the Giants that year were 15-5 on the road and 1-8 at the Polo Grounds in the first 29 games.
Wow. How'd they finish up? Carl will find that out for us.
Well, we're going to put Carl back to work to see how they finished up that year.
He'll do it.
Jimmy Rollins chops one at Ramirez, and there are 2 away.
That's how the game began, and Ramirez threw it away.
Here are the Phillies' numbers at home. Their batting average is just at .238. And on the road, their average is at .279, which dictates to more runs being scored, as you see there. And Charlie Manuel says, and he has said this throughout the first 2 months of the season, it's all going to even out eventually. You just can't imagine this team being below 500 in this beautiful ballpark with all the support and the energy that's here in this park.
Yeah, and everybody asks, you got any theory on it? Why? No. There's no rhyme nor reason to it. Fans are still great. Tremendous energy here during the games.
And Victorino's going to have his second base hit of the night. So he's aboard with 2 away. Our Geico quote of the day comes from the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies about last night's stolen base attempt by Shane Victorino. That was a mistake. We talk about our running game, but also you've got to know when to run. I could stop him, but at the same time, our base running, with the way we set it up, we like to think you won't make mistakes like that. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 800-947-AUTO.
Well, you and I were talking about that when it happened last night. And you asked, do you think he went on his own? And yeah, obviously he did. The thing is, a manager almost never puts a steal on. What most managers do, either they have situations where they give guys green lights or counts where they go automatically. But more than anything, they'll put a don't run on. So a steal sign is rarely given. And in this case, he went on his own, made a mistake.
And you wonder if and he's a very confident kid. I mean, Shane has always been confident. Does he get a little more tentative with his base running?
Well, I hope not. All he has to do is think the game better. That's all. You should always be thinking situations when you're out there. That's what this sport is. And the good players, they understand that and they'll do it. And I think Shane learned a valuable lesson last night. And, hopefully every time he gets on, he thinks, okay, what's the situation? What good does it do me to get the second if I stay here?
Well, if he gets the second here, he would be in scoring position with a count 0-2 to Chase Utley.
This is a good time to run, actually, because maybe he'll throw a breaking ball in the dirt to try and strike him out. Now, Davey has a lot to do with the running game at first base, and Charlie always talks about Davey Lopes. But in the case last night, you could see Davey was like, where are you going?
Well, and I think they just trusted that he would make the right decision.
Right. And it's water over the dam now. And you just learn from your mistakes like anything. It's life. It's just, in life you can make a mistake and who knows about it. You do it when you're a professional athlete. It's talked about. Luckily, this isn't the NFL where they talk about it for a week.
That is true.
It's over after that.
because he already has 2 hits and a run scored in tonight's ball game.
Right. I mean, that could be talk show fodder for a week if you played 1 game a week.
Outside, 1-2 to Chase. Chase sends it the opposite way. Coughlin is there. A few steps from the warning track, and the inning is over. So the Phillies strand 1. They get a base hit by Shane Victorino. We've completed 2 here in Philadelphia, and the Phillies. The first Marlin to hit a home run in their first major league at bat. The answer will be revealed in the 7th inning. We head to the top of the 3rd, top of the order for the Florida Marlins. Emilio Bonifacio, who popped out to Chase Utley his first time up, leads things off. Joe Blanton worked out of a jam in the 2nd inning. And joining us here in the booth is Phillies assistant general manager Scott Profrock, who's been nice enough to spend some time with us. Scott, welcome to Phillies television.
Well, thank you, Tom.
Bonifacio hits one in the air to Worth, and there's one away.
Something you've always really wanted to do, right? Phillies television.
Whatever the job description requires.
Well, this is Scott's first year with the Phillies organization, and I know he was busy in the offseason. All the fans kept hearing, all right, the Phillies avoided arbitration with this guy. Phillies avoided arbitration with this guy. That made life a lot easier. I know you were a big part of that.
Well, I'd much rather be watching baseball in February than be in an arbitration hearing room. So it worked out very well for us this year. We've solidified, hopefully, the core of a championship club for at least the next 3 years.
Hey, part of being an assistant general manager is knowing the rules, and there's so many complex rules when you're dealing with waivers and all that sort of stuff. Controlling the 40-man roster, how important is that when you're trying to make a move, and whether or not you have room on the 40-man, whether you're going to have a guy that's out of options, whether you have to outright guys, you have to really, does that come into play?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that goes into the consideration of every move we make. One of the things the last couple of weekends with the day-night doubleheader in Washington, we had some guys that were in Lehigh Valley that probably were more experienced than Sergio Escalona and Andrew Carpenter, but because those guys were on the roster and we had the flexibility with them, and we knew we weren't going to need them for an extended period of time, that played into the decision that we made. Whereas some of the other guys, because they were out of options, we would have had to expose them to waivers, to get them off the roster. So we sort of held those guys for more, long-term type situations if they're needed.
Well, good pitch there by Joe Blanton, 2 outs, and that's the 2nd strikeout of the ball game for Joe so far. And Scott, you brought up Sergio Escalona, and that leads us to some of the guys that we've seen Escalona being one of them, Andrew Carpenter being another one already from the farm system, and John Mayberry up here with the big club after making his debut this past weekend at Yankee Stadium. From an organizational standpoint, how nice was that to see John getting off to such a good start?
Oh, it was great. All three of them made contributions. You know, Carpenter got a win. Escalona got a win. John put us in a situation to win the game, and you know, all aspects of our scouting and development system should be commended. You know, for all three of those guys. Escalona was an international sign. Andrew Carpenter was a draft and amateur draft and sign, and Mayberry was a trade that our pro scouts recommended. So.
Well, that was a close play right there as Jimmy Rollins tried to throw out Hanley Ramirez, and Wally Bell called Ramirez safe. They've scored a base hit, so if you put 6-3 in your scorebook like I did, you got to change that and put it as a 1B.
We could see in that
slash.
Yeah, you could see in that replay that Jimmy didn't get a grip right away. He just had a little fumble with it when he took it out of his glove, and just that split second cost him the out.
What'd you think, Wills? Did you think he was safe or out on that one?
That looked like one of those proverbial ties.
Yep.
And that's up to the umpire. It doesn't go to one or the other. Either the base runner or the fielder. It's what the umpire thinks he saw.
Well, let's see if Joe Blanton can come back here, and talked about his work from the stretch in the game against the Cincinnati Reds. That's where he struggled the most, and he's facing Jorge Cantu for the second time with a count, no balls and 1 strike. And the count, no balls and 2 strikes to Jorge Cantu.
I watch him when he, well, there it is from this end. That's how close.
That's really close.
Very close.
No, that's how tough it is to be an umpire. I mean, we get all these replays and all these looks at it, and we're still going,
Plus the way Ramirez went down in the bag, I'm not sure if you heard it that well if you're the umpire, because he only put half his foot on the front bag. Well, it's the 3rd base hit for the Marlins in this ball game.
Give Ramirez credit too, because he busted. That's what Jimmy Rollins did to him in the first inning.
And the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. And we're talking to Scott Profrock, the Phillies assistant general manager. We were just talking about some of the guys that have been put into Phillies uniforms this year from the minor league system. We saw John Mayberry in spring training, and I thought he had such a sweet swing, particularly those first couple weeks of the season. He's trying to get acclimated now to a different role up here in the big leagues.
Yeah, and we'll see how long that lasts. I mean, obviously, the best thing for him is to continue to play and continue to progress and develop. And, you know, hopefully he'll get a chance to get some at-bats here in the next few days. And, you know, we'll see how it goes. I mean, we obviously will need to DH again when we play Toronto and Tampa on the road.
Call strike 3. Excuse me, Scott, on that one. Scott will stay with us as we go to the bottom of the 3rd inning as Cantu is rung up for the final out here in the 3rd. Blanton strands another one, and the Phillies lead it by 3. general manager. And I've talked to some people down at Reading, and they say Harmon is really swinging the bat well for the Phils.
Yes, he got off to a really slow start, and I think just recently, I think he's got to about 290 after hitting about 200 for the first month or so. So he's really picked it up, and I know they've made some adjustments, shortened up his swing, got him going the other way, and you know, he needed to get some motion in his swing, get it started a little earlier, and I think they've worked on him. Steve Roadcap and the staff at AA have done a fine job getting him acclimated, and the results speak for themselves.
You know, one of the other kids that people really liked in spring training, Tom mentioned John Mayberry Jr., was Jason Donald. What's the latest on him?
They've done a lot of moving him around. They had a plan where, you know, they want to keep his versatility, but they also don't want to bounce him around. And what they've done is they've played him, you know, for stretches at second, at short, and at third. It's not, you know, not every other day a different position. It's, you know, 5 days here, 5 days here, 10 days here, just to try to get him be able to get into a rhythm at each position and be comfortable there. And should he be needed up here at any one of those positions? So
that's a pretty good point, because you figure if he's going to be a utility guy at some point, he's got to get adjusted to preparing for that position every single game. So by playing him 5 or 6 games at one position, then moving him to another, he can get prepared for that position on a consistent basis.
Right, and if there's an injury, you know, at the major league level, you know, he's ready to play, you know, any one of them, and has had, you know, extensive experience at any one of them.
Yeah, he told us in spring training that he likes to play shortstop. He said he thinks that's his best position, so probably moving around the other ones, good idea to see if he can play them.
Sure.
Well, Raul Ibanez is on with a 1-out single here in the bottom of the third.
I want to ask Scott about something that comes up a lot of times that, you know, can become confusing. Options. When a guy how many options does a guy have? And then in the course of a season, can you send a guy up and down as many times as you want and only just use one option?
That's correct, Wheels. They generally have 3. Some players, and I believe Mr. Miller is one of them, had 4 because he signed a major league contract out of college. And when you have less than 5 full years of service before the upcoming season, you are getting 4th option. And I believe Andrew was one of those guys. But in general, you just have 3. And as you said, they can come up and down as many times during one season and only use one option.
Jason Worth behind in the count.
And in some cases, if they're down for less than 20 days, even though they were on option for 19 days, it does not count as an option. So you save an option in some cases.
Yeah, that's a part of we were talking about, Scott. You know how confusing some of this stuff is. You guys really got to pay attention to it.
Now, I've been on both sides of situations where, you know, the attention to detail can bite you if you don't pay attention.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. Waiver claims, even the Rule 5 draft to a certain extent, the options. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to know, a lot of rules that you have to know from a baseball standpoint.
Right. The worst, and I was with the Pirates way back when in 1990 when we had I wasn't directly involved in it, but we had a situation where the Phillies benefited with Tony Longmire and Wes Chamberlain and Julio Paguro, and we ended up working out a trade where we got Carmelo Martinez, and Carmelo Martinez actually helped us win a couple games to help us win the division that year, but it was an embarrassing situation for the organization.
Well, John Hirschbach is coming out to the mound. I think Hanley Ramirez may have hurt himself legging out that infield base hit in the top of the third inning. He's being tended to now by the training staff just to the left of the mound. John Hirschbach came over and said, "Hey boys, what's going on here?" Well, we have a break in the action. And it looks like Ramirez, he keeps pointing toward his quad, and you wonder if he hurt his leg as he was trying to beat out that base hit.
Sure, on a night like this, you can pull a muscle, that's for sure. Guys didn't get much on the field. Oh boy, there's one guy they would hate to lose for any period of time. He's their best offensive player by far.
Well, Ramirez is going to, looks like, going to exit the ball game, and the Marlins and Freddie Gonzalez are going to have to put in a new player over at shortstop.
Well, they may have to put Helms in the game at third, put Bonifacio at It's short. They only have a 4-man bench.
Yeah, they've got Ross Glode, who's an outfielder first baseman, Ronnie Paulino, who's a backup catcher, Brett Hayes is a backup catcher, and you've got Wes Helms. There is Wes, who looks like he's getting himself ready to come into this ball game. So that most likely is going to be what they're going to do. Is they're going to move him to third, move Bonifacio over to shortstop, and that's how the Marlins are going to set up defensively without Hanley Ramirez here in the bottom of the third inning. So Helms will bat at the number 3 spot for the Florida Marlins. And Bonifacio, who is a middle infielder by trade. And that's the base hit by Ramirez, and he really lunged for that bag. Now I said quad because he was holding that quad, but he was also holding his hip as he was going back to the dugout as well.
Well, yeah, Tom, I mean, it certainly appeared to be some kind of leg injury.
So Helms will toss a few over to first base. 2 away here in the bottom of the third. Bonifacio will hang out over at shortstop, and Andrew Miller will go to work against Pedro Feliz. Scott Profrock, who is the Phillies assistant general manager, joining us up here in the booth. And Scott, a couple of folks have asked me about Carlos Carrasco and how he's doing down in Lehigh Valley. I know his record's not great right now, but some folks have said that he's thrown much better than what his record indicates.
Yes, he has. He's making progress. You know, and again,
that one's in the air to left center field. Coughlin is over, and there's the final out of the inning.
You know, it's just it's his first full trip to AAA, and you know, he's getting adjusted, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see him up here sometime this year or next.
Airlines. Book your next trip at southwest.com. Phillies lead at 3-0 as we move to the top of the fourth inning. Gary Matthews is settled in, all bundled up on a cool night here in South Philadelphia. And John Baker will lead things off against Joe Blanton. And Sarge, it seems like a carbon copy to the first 3 innings that Blanton had his last time out against the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, he is coming over the top with that all his pitches and getting a lot of movement on it. That's what he wants to do, and when he's able to do that, he gets ground balls and he'll get strikeouts.
Well, so far Blanton has picked up 3 strikeouts. He's also picked up outs on 3 different ground balls for the first 3 innings of the game.
Yeah, he made Uggla really look bad, and then no balls, 2 strikes, end up throwing him a hittable pitch. That's what he wants to do a little better on and concentrate. Once you get those early strikes, you want to make sure that hitter is put away.
Got some early strikes there against John Baker, and the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, Hanley Ramirez left this ball game with a tight right groin. As Baker skies one, shallow left. Jimmy Rollins looked like he was calling off Ibanez, and then Raul came in to make the catch. So one away here in the top of the fourth. Follow the Phillies on your iPhone and iPod Touch with MLB.com At Bat 2009, featuring play-by-play, video highlights, and live audio broadcasts. Visit Phillies.com on your iPhone or iPod Touch to purchase. One out, and here is Dan Uggla. And Uggla takes one for a strike. It's 0-1.
Uggla not hitting for an average so far this year. This is one of those other second basemen in the league that hits for power. He's made the All-Star before.
Last year he had a couple of errors in the All-Star game up at Old Yankee Stadium. Chase Utley was the starter at second base, and Uggla came on for Chase later on in that ball game. There have been some rumors circulating around baseball that Dan Uggla is being sought after by a couple of teams, including the San Francisco Giants. The Marlins have been known during years in which years before a player is due a new contract to unload that player and get some young players back in return.
Well, he's an offensive player all the way. No, not a great defensive player. He's adequate, but not what you would call a great defensive player. And he's more known for his offense.
He has 98 career home runs. He's out on strikes on a beautiful pitch from Blanton, and there are two away.
Well, we talk about when it doesn't come from the side, that ball right over the top as he comes with the breaking ball. And what you like about it, it has late break. Now take a look at this as he takes a little off, but in a good spot. That's what Blanton wants to do. That's the way he wants to be able to pitch. And he says he's straightened out some things, so it looks good so far.
Well, 4 strikeouts for Blanton, 2 away here in the fourth. And the count 1-0 to Cody Ross, who doubled to straightaway center field his first time up.
You know, a lot of that has to do with confidence. You know, as long as a pitcher isn't tipping and maybe opening it up. That's filthy. You can just tell the way that the batter's swinging at the ball. See Ross off balance when he's swinging, and when pitchers get hitters off balance, that's what they want to do. They don't like to see those full swings or balls fouled straight back.
On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Mets have taken a 3-0 lead over the Washington Nationals in the bottom of the third. Fernando Tatis has an RBI single. And the Mets have had a number of transactions the last couple of days. These are the transactions from today. Jose Reyes and Ryan Church both placed on the disabled list, as Ross is now 2 for 2 for the Marlins. And the Mets called up their top prospect from the minor leagues, Fernando Martinez, one of their outfield prospects. And they also acquired veteran infielder Wilson Valdez from the Cleveland Indians.
Wow, they were busy today. But not having Jose Reyes on that team and Church is going to hurt them. But really, Reyes, leadoff hitter, potentially can steal as many bases as he wants to.
Well, they're fortunate that they have a soft part of the schedule upon them, and the Nationals will be here in Philadelphia later on this weekend. 2 away. Here's Chris Coghlan. He was intentionally walked his first time up, and he's ahead in the count 1-0. Sarge, baseball is different now than when you played from a scheduling standpoint. But the Marlins have done well against the National League East so far this year. Phillies have done pretty well against the National League East as well. I mean, it's changed where you have to do well against your division.
That's it. Well, when you do well against your division, you're able to stay right with them. And not only that, usually when you're able to play well at home, than just the opposite for the Fighting Phils. They've had better success on the road this year.
Check swing and an appeal. No swings as the third base umpire, Marvin Hudson. But it's 2-1.
Florida Marlins getting off to such a great start also helped them. 11-1.
11-1, but just 10 wins in their last 34 games.
That's why you play 162, so you don't want teams lucking out in the very beginning and winning it. It's a long race.
3-1 the count to Coghlan. And ball 4, and the Marlins have runners on first and second here in the top of the 4th inning. You might think that this is a problem for Joe Blanton, but the pitcher is due up. And, you know, if you're Joe Blanton, you probably would have loved to have gotten the number 8 hitter in that spot, but still you can navigate your way out of this issue.
Yeah, he was out on a fielder's choice, but he hit the ball pretty hard to J-Row his last time up with the bases loaded.
Last night the Phillies had this situation in the 6th inning, and Ronnie Paulino had the count 3-0, got the green light and got a base hit. And here Blanton's fallen behind 2-0 to Andrew Miller.
Yeah, needs to take his time, just gather himself and throw him a good strike, preferably on the outside part of the plate.
And there it is. It's as if you played this game, Sarge.
Well, I mean, he's struggling right there, and that's the way most of the pitchers are pitching, you know, on the outside part of the plate. So if they can't throw a strike there most of the time, it's, I don't want to say look for a new profession, but it's a matter of time. You'll be asking, you want fries with that order? You keep throwing a bunch of balls. See what happens.
2-2 the count down to Miller. And he got him. Another good slider. 5th strikeout of the game for Joe Blanton. He strands a couple more. The Marlins have stranded 6 over the last 3 innings, and the Phillies lead it 3-0. National, it's all quality.
I'm sure they knew exactly what you were trying to say. It's okay.
Bottom of the 4th inning, the bottom of the order for the Phillies against Andrew Miller. Phillies lead it 3-0. Carlos Ruiz is behind in the count 0-1. Carlos flied out to left pretty hard his first time up.
Well, you can see Miller all the way. He comes right over the top, even though he is tall from the left side. A lot easier to hit with the right-handers. The ball's coming right into you. You know, it's not a lot of deception And so far, he hasn't been able to get the breaking ball over the way you would like. So guess what? You sit on the one pitch.
Throws that fastball at 93. Former #1 pick by the Detroit Tigers. He was involved in the deal that sent Miguel Cabrera and Dontrell Willis to Detroit before the 2008 season.
Well, Willis has had his problems and losing his control, losing velocity.
Throws a lot of junk now.
Well, lefties can get away with that, however, and still sustain a pretty good career.
3-2 the count to Ruiz.
See, this is what I'm saying about sitting on a particular pitch. I mean, he's thrown all those pitches, hasn't thrown a breaking ball, and still having problems trying to locate his fastball. So as a hitter, you want to just sit right there on that fastball and make sure the ball is down. Yeah, if he gets a breaking ball over, you hope you foul it off, but he hasn't even showed it so far.
Line drive down the left field line, a base hit heading to the corner. That was a hanger, and Ruiz is going to head to second base with a stand-up double. It was a fastball that didn't touch 90 miles an hour, but it was up in the zone.
Yeah, that was 87, as if he maybe wanted to cut that ball inside. Ruiz up to the task. He's been hitting line drives after line drives. Kid can hit a fastball. Now just take a look at this. Short, quick to the ball, not a whole lot of movement. As he hits the ball right down the right field line, automatic double once it gets there. Take a look at it. There's a sound. Hugs the corner. I ought to see a bunt right now.
Oh, that's what Joe Blatton's job is here, is to move Ruiz over to third. And he bunts the first pitch foul. It's 0-1. Blatton grounded back to the pitcher his first time up.
Now, these are important times during the game to keep adding on. That's what you want to try and do to the clubs that aren't at 500. Just take them right out of the game. You stay close to them, you give them incentive.
Phillies scored 3 runs in the first inning, 2 of which were unearned. And they've got a runner in scoring position here with nobody out in the bottom of the 4th. And Blatton bunts it in the air, foul.
Got to stay on top of the ball, and if you do, you'll get the ground ball. A lot of times Charlie might take it off or let him swing, but you know, a lot of this is a situation where you want your pitcher to be able to get that runner over to third base. Just want to keep tacking on runs.
And he misses the bunt, and he's down on strikes. 1 away. Well, the Chicago Cubs are coming to town Monday, July 20th for the start of a 3-game series. 2 games at 7:05, 1 at 1:05. The Citizens Bank Business Person Special is Wednesday, July 22nd, and the Modell's Kids Run the Bases will take place after the game. You can order your tickets now by logging on to Phillies.com. And the Cubs right now have been in a little bit of trouble. They've lost 8 consecutive games.
Huh. That pass is not tasting very good to Lou right now, let me tell you. They're losing those kind of games. You want to avoid Lou Piniella, who's the manager of the Chicago Cubs.
So you're not going to interview him that weekend? That one gets by Baker. It shoots right back to him. His throw sails, and Helms does a nice job hanging on to it. I remember John Vukovich used to talk about the wall behind home plate. And he used to say, as a third base coach, it was so difficult sometimes to gauge whether you send somebody or not on a wild pitch, because the ball shoots right back to the catcher every once in a while.
Well, that runner has to be able to has to read that ball. You know, usually when a coach tells you to go, it's almost too late. You got to be off and going, and if you can, makes it easier as the infield comes in for the Florida Marlins.
So the infield is in, and out to the mound goes John Baker. It's a wild pitch charge to Miller. And the Phillies have a runner 90 feet away with 1 out. You know, Carlos Ruiz started slowly off the second base bag, thinking that was going to be an easy trot over to third. Then he saw the ball come back and he said, uh-oh.
But did came back hard right to him. If that ball had been down, it would have been a lot closer.
2-1 the count to J-Roll.
Might have had a chance to even get him.
Jimmy has been very successful with less than 2 outs and a runner on third.
Now that's his changeup, which is 84. But again, that's more straight. You don't see a lot of tailing, at least not so far, where the ball tails away from you like Cole Hamels.
On the hands, roller to second. Ruiz is coming home. The throw is a little high, but he is a dead duck. And there are 2 away. Now, Baker made sure he blocked the plate, so Carlos had nowhere to go, and it looked like he was going on contact.
Yeah, that was a contact play, which means no matter where the ball is hit, even back to the pitcher. Now there's the runner. As you see him in the bottom box, he takes off. He's just a dead duck, though, and the infield is playing in, and then that ball is hit directly to the fielder. See Uggla there as he just nice and easy little toss. He knows he has plenty of time. He's trying to slide around him, but to no avail. There's Dan Uggla.
2 outs. Victorino's 2 for 2. He's doubled and scored a run, and he's also singled in tonight's game. Good spot to go here.
Well, I'd let him at least get maybe 1 shot at a strike. Although if he reads them and you have the right time, it's okay to go. Even Victorino going last night, I mean, it was 1-4.5 to home plate. Usually if a pitcher is right about, say, 1-1, 1-2, you don't go. 1-4, 4.5, he should be able to get that with no problem. He just didn't have a good enough jump, and it was a good throw, let's face it, by Polino.
Shane fights that one off and sends it down the right field line, and it's no balls and 1 strike. Now that time that you talked about, the 1-2, 1-4.5, it's the amount of time it takes the pitcher to get to the plate.
Exactly. So, you know, the average, or really a good time, would be 1-1. There's some pitchers there at 1-1. 1-2 is awful good. Makes it difficult for a base stealer to try and steal a base. But 1-4 or 1-4.5, I mean, you almost can walk in there. I mean, realistically here, in talking, you might have a chance to steal a base there, Tom.
I don't know about that.
Well, we don't want to stretch it that far. You're right. Oh, boy.
1-1 the count to Victorino. I was just thinking that you might have a chance to steal a base there.
Well, if he was around 1-3 or so, I'd be taking off. 1-1, no. 1-2, I got to have a heck of a jump. But anything after that, I want to take my chances.
Victorino lines one foul down the left field line. And the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes. That young lady's got a souvenir.
And I think it's a good time to go. And again, if he's thrown out, Victorino gets a brand new count. And if he steals a base, he's in scoring position.
Jimmy goes, pitches, hit foul, and he had a great jump. Finished the game with Marshall Harris and former Phillies pitcher Ricky Bottalico and their extensive game breakdown, plus Leslie Goodell's exclusive player reactions on Sloan Toyota presents Phillies post-game live after the game, only on Comcast Sportsnet. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count to Shane Victorino with Rollins on first and 2 away here in the bottom of the 4th inning. There goes Jimmy again, and the pitch, check swing. Did he go? Yes, he did. As the ball is loose, and Shane is just standing on home plate, and he's down on strikes. The tag is applied, and the inning is over. I think Shane thought he may have fouled that ball off. Phillies strand one. We head to the fifth.
Hits.
And the Phillies so far tonight have managed 5 hits to the Marlins 4, and Joe Blanton has stranded 6 through the first 4 innings of work. And he's ahead 0-1 to Emilio Bonifacio. And he went around on that offering.
Well, Hirschbeck, if you even think about swinging, he's going to tell you you swung the bat.
Sarge, you ever think that you'd see someone wearing fur at the end of May in Philadelphia?
No, really. I mean, the weather has been a little warm at times, a little chilly as it is tonight, but obviously she didn't put her jacket up.
Well, and I have to say, one smart lady there.
Oh, look at this pitch. Boy, look at the break, though, he's getting on his pitches. Again, hit her off balance. That's what he wants.
That's 6 strikeouts for Blanton. Jeremy Hermita's a strikeout victim, and he's down on the count 0-1. Hermita's popped to Feliz over third and made a nice play. And he's gone down looking. I mentioned this is a night like San Francisco. I mean, you would play games where it felt like this, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. It was always a little bit of mist. Start the game, it would be a little fog.
They play now in downtown San Francisco. They used to play at Candlestick Park, which was about 5 minutes from downtown. Would you say? Easy play for Chase.
Yeah, easy. 5 minutes.
And it sat right on the bay in San Francisco. Well, the Padres are coming back to town for one game. Let's hope they're a little cooled off from the way they're playing lately. It's Thursday, July 23rd at 7:05. It's the rescheduled rainout, and it's a Hatfield Dollar Dog Night. You can get your tickets by logging on to Phillies.com.
Yeah, you could always tell how the wind was blowing when you were driving to the ballpark. If you saw those white caps, you knew that the wind was blowing pretty hard. You could see it there in the water, and once you got to the ballpark, it sure did confirm it.
Wes Helms at his first at bat since taking over for Hanley Ramirez. Ramirez left with a tight right groin. And Helms last night single-handedly beat the Phillies with 4 RBIs.
He sure did.
had 3 balls and no strikes. In the air to right. And Joe Blanton has a clean 5th inning. 1, 2, 3, go the Marlins. 4 in a row set down by Joe. And as we go to the bottom of the 5th, it's Chase Utley, Ryan Howard. July 30th to August 3rd. If you've never been there, it is a great city to go to. You can call 877-833-7326 for details, or just log on to Phillies.com/road trip. And it's one of the best cities in the country, and it's really one of the best venues in the country.
Outside, especially with the nice restaurants, a lot of great museums.
Chase Utley leads off the bottom of the 5th.
One of the few curveballs that he's thrown, starting Utley off with it, the ball stayed a little high.
Chase scored a run tonight with that walk and his fly to left. And it's 2-0. Sarge, were you surprised when you saw the lineup card today to see Charlie put Shane in the number 2 spot, put the 3 lefties together in the middle of the lineup?
Yeah, you know what, I was, but again, he goes on hunches. Charlie will go on hunches on how pitchers throw.
And it produces a base hit for Chase Utley.
And not only that, though, the left-handed hitters that they have, and with him coming over the top, no deception. He's not coming over to the right and hooking down and getting those left-handers off of him.
Well, it's time now for our Firestone leaders as Ryan Howard comes to the plate. 22 career home runs against the Florida Marlins, 4th among active ball players. Chipper has 37. Andrew Jones has 31. And Pat Burrell with 26. And Pat could have added to that total this past weekend against the Fish, but he was on the disabled list for the Tampa Bay Rays. Firestone, a tradition of innovation. And Ryan hit 2 of those home runs last night.
He hits that ball in the middle of the bat there on that sweet spot, which is no ballpark in the league can hold his balls in.
Chris Volstad, who you see right there, said he didn't even look at the 2 pitches that Ryan hit out. Part of that was because he won the game 5-3. He said he didn't even bother going back to watch it.
Well, he knew it was gone just because of the sound.
He knew it was gone because of the sound. Cody Ross did everything he could to make it seem like it wasn't gone because he was climbing the fence after that first one.
That's false hustle. that ball was all up against the back wall. Come on.
1-2 is where the count remains to Ryan Howard. This is the first home run for Ryan.
Yeah, this is where he's going back. You can see Volstad as he just didn't want to look, and this one is just, he kind of took a little peek and said, is that going? Let me have another one.
He did turn around to see where it landed. And it landed just above, well, actually just below the start of the ivy. Would you say right about there, Sarge?
Right about in there. Huh, that was pretty nice.
It's a little ice cream cone. Curve ball, and he's down on strikes. The Toyota Major League scoreboard. The Cubs lead the Pirates 1-0. Kosuke Fukudome is at his 5th home run. Cubs have lost 8 straight. They haven't lost 9 in a row since 2002.
Oof. Yeah, with the pitching that they have, you don't think they can go into a long slump the way that they have. But it happens.
Here's Ibanez, who's 1 for 1 with an RBI and a sacrifice. 44 RBIs for Ibanez.
Well, you can see kind of how he does drive in 100. He picks up those runners that are on third base with less than 2 outs, and it's almost like a free at bat. He's very upset when he does not get a runner in, and we've seen some balls that he's hit hard where the shortstop had caught, not being able to get the runner in. But for the most part, he's done a marvelous job in doing that.
And everything they said about his success against left-handers has been true. Sitting over 300 against lefties, and there's the success that Sarge was talking about.
Yeah, getting those runners in. He's a line drive hitter, but see, he doesn't bail at the plate, and he looks at the pitch. You have a little more success when you're doing that. It doesn't guarantee you hits, but what it does is it just gets you where your ability is right, where you can have success and driving and hitting balls.
Well, that young lady has a pretty good view of Ibanez staying in, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Sarge, I never figured this out as an amateur player. How do players not bail?
Well, that comes more or less from fear that hitters bail at the plate. Well, there'll be times when I'll ask some of the players, even with the Phillies, hey, you scared of the ball, or do we need to go to the veterinary, maybe grab some German Shepherds to take up to the plate with you if you're that afraid? Kind of get on their nerves a little bit when you say that, and it's what you're doing is you're challenging that particular hitter. But sure enough, if you go look at it when they're looking at their videos, they can see themselves coming off of the plate or backing back on their heels. And when they don't do it, their swings are it's a lot better, and they get hits. You're going to get hits. You know, these are major league players.
Well, he's on first. He's been hit by 10 pitches this year, so you know he doesn't bail. And the count is now 3-2 to Ibanez.
No, you're right. Utley, he stays in there almost to a fault at times. He'll take it off of his back. He'll take it off his feet. We've seen that before.
Is he going here?
3-2 count here. Well, be a good time to go.
Oh, he does go. Ibanez holds his swing. And it's ball 4. The Phillies have runners on first and second.
Now, you know, Charlie will send a runner if he knows that batter won't strike out. And usually more than not, Ibanez will put that bat on the ball, and that you're running to stay out of the double play.
Both pitchers have gotten to 84 pitches very differently in tonight's ball game. Freddie Gonzalez has watched Andrew Miller allow 3 runs on 6 hits. Charlie Manuel has watched Joe Blanton allow no runs on 4 hits. And here's Jason Worth, 0 for 2. And down in the count, 0-1.
Yeah, Jason taking a few too many fastballs off of Miller. And hittable fastball. Again, when that pitcher gets ahead of you, he becomes more aggressive, and vice versa for the hitter when he's ahead of the pitcher. See what Jason's doing with runners in scoring position. 359, that's vintage.
Pulls that one toward the hole. Diving play by Helms. They won't double up Worth, but they'll get the second out. And Utley goes to third. So Jason's aboard. And Wes Helms just robbed him an RBI and a base hit.
Pretty good play by Helms as he goes right over near the hole, dives and comes up with a good throw. Ends up getting a Banez. There he is again and gathers himself. Other than knowing that he wasn't going to get 2, Worth does run good.
So Banez is retired for the second out. Utley's on third. Worth's on first. And Pedro Feliz, an RBI single, stands in. Wes Helms, who came on to play third base when Hanley Ramirez went down with an injury, and Bonifacio moved over to short. He's had himself a couple pretty good ball games.
Yeah, that groin is a tough injury for a shortstop because you have so much running to do back and forth. And he might have hurt it when he beat out that base hit and stretching going to first base.
In the air, right center field. Not that deep. And the Phillies will strand a couple here in the 5th inning. So they take a 3-0 lead into the top of the 6th inning here at Citizens Bank Park, as they have stranded now 7 in the game. Received National League Player of the Week honors, and it is brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. We're here for you every step of the way. And there is Raul Ibanez. And Ibanez did have a heck of a week when the Phillies were on that road trip, the first part of it, and it carried over to Yankee Stadium this past weekend. Phillies lead at 3-0 as we start the top of the 6th inning. And Joe Blanton on the hill, dealing with 4, 5, and 6 for the Florida Marlins. One of the reasons for Joe's success tonight, Sarge, is that he's kept the top of the order off the base paths.
Yeah, and has a bunch of strikeouts to boot, but been around the plate.
Top 4 hitters in this lineup. You can even go down to the number 5 batter, John Baker. Top 5 hitters in this lineup are 1 for 13. That's some good success.
Well, he's finding the spots with that fastball and really staying on top of it, getting movement as he hits the outside part of the plate.
Blanton was saying that during the Cincinnati game, when he gave up the 5 runs in that 5th inning, when he worked from the stretch, he said he just got sloppy. Jimmy Rollins, a diving play from his knees, throws off balance, and the scoop is off the glove of Ryan Howard. Boy, that would have been an unbelievable play all the way around to get Cantu.
Yeah, that's one of those do or die plays there for Ryan Howard. As you can see now on the replay here, J-Ro goes, dives, shows you how strong his arm is. Tried to scoop that ball. Had to been a little bit further over on the inside, but you got to get that up and throw it as quick as you can. There it is again as he gets up, pops up. He's looking, and oh.
I don't know how that ball did just slip out of his hand as he went sliding across the grass. And you just expect Ryan Howard over at first base to make that scoop after the way he's played this year.
Boy, he really has been playing great first base. You know, J-Ro, he thinks he should make all the plays, left and right.
1-1 the count to John Baker with nobody out here in the top of the 6th.
It's a big inning for Joe to be able to get out of this 6th inning. Should give him some confidence being able to do that.
Good pitch. Another good slider. Baker's down swinging. 7th strikeout for Blanton. Well, Joe is due to bat second in the bottom of the 6th inning.
Oh, watch this pitch there as that ball disappears. Looks like either a cutter or a back foot slide piece.
Now that back foot slider is different than his normal slider, isn't it?
Well, I mean, again, they throw them different ways and they try and stay on top of the ball. There's some early on that Joe was throwing flat sliders.
Which means he was coming maybe 3/4 as he was tossing.
Well, yeah, or going around the ball, if you will, or throwing from the side as opposed to getting on top of his pitches. When he's throwing them from the side, he had them where they were just spinning, and those are the ones that get hit hard.
1-1 the count to Dan Uggla. Well, you saw Rich Doobie just a moment ago, the Phillies pitching coach, and he and Joe Blanton, in between this start and the one against the Reds, watched some film from when Blanton pitched against the Oakland A's, or pitched for the Oakland A's, excuse me. And they looked at how Blanton was coming set from this spot. And what Joe was saying was that as he came set, his feet were too close to his body.
Oh, I thought he said that
or
they
feet were too close together.
Yeah, I thought he said that they were a little bit too far apart. And what he did is that
right, that's what it was. Too far apart. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he came and he shortened it up some, and I think what it has done is maybe given him a little bit more balance, certainly more confidence.
2-2 the count to Uggla.
See, that's the way you want to miss, though. Just miss. Because that way you put it in that hitter's head. I better be swinging if it is close. But if you throw one way away, it just does nothing for the hitter's psyche.
Cantu leads off first. And up goes down on strike. That's the 8th strikeout of the night for Joe Blanton. And what a night for Joe Blanton so far, Sarge.
Boy, he has just looked terrific. Again, just take a look at the movement. Little backdoor piece as he ends up getting another strikeout. But he's throwing and he's pitching fast. I mean, he's not thinking about it. Getting those breaking balls over. Yeah, look at those 8 Ks.
8 strikeouts tonight for Blanton. 5 hits, 2 walks. And the batter is Cody Ross. Blanton's career high in strikeouts is 10. He did that in 2005 against the Angels. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike to Ross. And he is at the 100 pitch mark for the night. If he's able to get Ross, though, here, he may bat in the bottom of the 6th inning.
Well, it just depends, again, with Rich Doobie that you're looking at right there, and also Charlie Manuel. Probably ask him how you're feeling. You know, you always want your pitcher, however, to leave on a good, positive note. It helps him for his next start. And Charlie probably thinking about the bullpen and trying to save those guys. And as long as they're not having great at bats, hitting the ball hard, he might let them go.
At the knees, 2-2. Blanton came into this game with a 7.11 ERA, which was the 4th worst in the league, but he hasn't pitched to that level. You know, his last couple of outings, he has had stretches where he has been real good, including the first 4 innings against Cincinnati last time.
Well, it just seems like all the pitchers, when they throw in a bad location, the ball's been leaving the ballpark.
Right.
You know, Brett Myers talked about that. You know, every mistake that he's thrown, same as Jamie, it seems that the ball is leaving the ballpark. Well, what that does, it makes you concentrate a little bit more to be able to try and get the ball in the right location. And it's not always up that a ball is hit out. There's some guys that are low ball hitters. You go over the different video on the different players, you know that.
Cantu not being held on. He'll take off. 3-2 pitch. Check swing. Doesn't matter. Called. Strike 3. Cody Ross is down looking. 3 strikeouts in the inning for Joe Blanton. 9 overall, and he has pitched a fantastic 6 innings tonight here at Citizens Bank Park. Off, and he takes one outside from Andrew Miller. Now Miller allowed those 3 runs in the first inning, 2 of which were unearned runs. And he's done a pretty good job settling in and stranding base runners. He's stranded 7 so far in this game.
Yeah, mostly with that fastball. And he hasn't been able to consistently get over any of his off-speed pitches from time to time. Yeah, that curveball.
And the reason he's still in there and he's just down 3-0, the Phillies are 1 for 7 tonight with runners in scoring position. So they've had chances. And they really capitalized in that first. 2-2 the count to Ruiz.
There's another fastball, and I don't know if Ruiz is looking for off-speed pitch there, but he hasn't proved whether or not he can get the pitch over consistently. So as a hitter, it becomes easier to hit. You eliminate pitches.
On the hands, he stays alive. Carlos doubled his last time up and was thrown out by Dan Uggla, trying to score on a ground ball off the bat of Jimmy Rollins.
Yeah, no chance though. Infield in. It's one of those plays. Manager's hoping that he's going to throw it away or maybe boot the ball.
Lines another one, caught by Wes Helms. He went behind his body to grab that one. And he really has had a good series.
Well, there's no question about it. Again, when players are traded or released from teams, that you have a tendency to get up, as he did on that particular play. Watch this, getting up as the ball looked like it was almost by him. Take another look at it. Again, he's anticipating that ball coming there. That's how hard the ball is actually coming.
Well, Bland does bat here in the bottom of the 6th inning, so that's our answer to whether he stays in the game. Helms did not start tonight, came in midway through for the injured Hanley Ramirez.
Well, you got to like the way Carlos Ruiz is hitting those line drives.
Yeah, that should have been his second double of the night.
Yeah, but all you, again, as a hitter, that's all you can do is hit the ball hard. You hit the ball hard consistently, then you're hoping you're going to get your share falling in.
Ball 4, and Miller's just walked Joe Blanton. A 1-out walk to the Phillies pitcher. And he's aboard here in the bottom of the 6th inning. He does not want his jacket. So Joe's aboard. Here's Jimmy Rollins. Mark Wiley's going to head out to the mound. Hey, we mentioned before that the All-Star balloting, the first wave of tabulations came out today. And Chase Utley is leading the way at second base in the National League. Jimmy Rollins is third right now among National League shortstops. Ryan Howard is third among National League first basemen. Raul Ibanez, meanwhile, is sixth among National League outfielders. As bullpen action for the Marlins continues, Chris LaRue, big tall right-hander, is firing. And I hope Ibanez makes it with the fan vote, but if he doesn't, you figure Charlie Manuel is going to pick him.
Yeah, but I think he would really want to be picked by the fans and be able to be in that starting rotation there in the outfield. He deserves it. He's been as good as any outfielder, better, I should say. And then coming over to a new league, tough city to play in Philadelphia, and he's made it just like his home from day one.
Jimmy has scored a run tonight. And he's ahead 2 balls and no strikes. Well, the Phillies should be well represented this July 14th at the All-Star game in St. Louis, Missouri, as Miller hits the 100 pitch mark for his night. Sarge has won All-Star game, and I thought as a fan you should have been in more. So that's just my opinion. Came in 1979 when Tommy Lasorda picked you to be a reserve.
Yeah, that was a dream come true, being able to be in the All-Star game, as Hirschbeck is calling them both low and high. Yeah, I thought I should have made a few more too, but they didn't expand the rosters.
2-2, bounced on the ground to third. Easy hop for Helms. They get one at second and won't get the double play. 2 away.
Well, Big Joe going into second base pretty hard, trying to disrupt that throw from Ugla, and he did. Victorino really want to give him some time to get back in the dugout. Really now he's just about be kind of walking up and slowly getting there, so you can give your pitcher some time to get on the bench.
Well, if you want to see this ball game again, it will encore tonight at 10:30 on the Comcast Network, and tomorrow at 6 a.m. also on the Comcast Network. .104 pitches for Andrew Miller, and Victorino smokes one into the seats down the left field line. Hope everybody's okay. That ball went in pretty fast.
Now, fastball inside, Miller threw to Victorino, and he turned on it. Jimmy's been reading Miller pretty good. He's been over at first base, so should just about have his move down pat.
In the air to right center field. Ross got a late start. That's going to split the gap, and it's going to roll toward the wall. Cut off before the scoreboard. Doesn't matter. Rollins around third, heading to the plate. He scores standing, and the Phillies lead it 4-0. And it's a 3-hit night for Shane Victorino.
Well, I guess he has put it behind him as he comes out smoking here tonight. That's how you can get people to forget about blunders that you've done the previous night by coming out and doing your thing. In tonight's ball game, as you see J-Ro on the bench. Now this ball here hit right in the gap. Line drive, gets his foot down. They're off to the races now as it just splits the gap. Once it goes over, you see J-Ro, he's going all the way. Victorino smart staying there to second base, not even drawing a throw. If he wanted to go to third, that's what you want to do.
And they keep the lefty Andrew Miller in the game to face Chase Utley.
Well, that won't show up in the box score, but Joe Blanton going in hard and not taking it for granted, going on and sliding hard, end up getting Victorino up there, and lo and behold, there's another run, and smiles by Milt Thompson, the hitting coach.
Yeah, just making sure that Jimmy wasn't going to be doubled up at first. 1-1 the count to Chase Utley.
Now here goes Blanton here coming into second base. Now look how hard he slides, and he disrupts the throw. That's why Ugla threw the ball out wild, and he kind of gave Joe a look like, man, you're coming in that hard?
Utley pops one way up there. Foul territory. Cantu puts it away, and the inning is over. But the Phillies get one more on the RBI double by Shane Victorino, and they take a 4
job by Joe Blanton tonight. He has really pitched well in this ballgame. The Phillies have nicked up Andrew Miller in the game, and now they lead it 4-0. Shane Victorino, boy, has he had a big game. 3 for 4 with a couple doubles. He's knocked in a run. Pedro Feliz has an RBI hit. And Joe Blanton pitching into the 7th inning, and this is about as good as we've seen him this far into a game all year, Tom.
Well, he's been outstanding, Wheels. 9 strikeouts so far for Blanton. And he's going to get Coughlin on the second pitch of the inning. And there's one away. That's the thing, too, is that Blanton throughout the entire game, I mean, there may have been 2 or 3 at bats where this hasn't happened, but he has thrown a first pitch strike to just about every hitter.
Yeah, it's one thing you notice that right out of the chute tonight, and the same thing he did in Cincinnati is he was throwing a lot of first pitch strikes, and statistically you will get a lot of guys out with strike 1.
Rich Doobie has liked what he has seen tonight. Brett Hayes is going to pinch hit for Andrew Miller here in the top of the 7th inning. Hayes pinch hit in last night's ball game. And there's another first pitch strike by Joe. Blanton's career high in strikeouts, as we mentioned, is 10, and he's got 9 in this ball game. And he's ahead 0-2 now to Hayes. There's Jamie Moyer, who last night for the Phillies went 6 innings, allowed 4 earned runs, and struck out 5. He suffered the loss. And there is strikeout number 10 for Joe Blanton. That matches his career high. And that slider has been his out pitch all night long.
Yeah, he uses his fastball to set up his breaking ball, and that's what good pitchers do. Throw fastballs early in the count, get ahead, and then use your breaking stuff if you have good breaking stuff to get outs. And that's exactly what's happened here tonight.
So 2 away here in the top of the 7th inning. Top of the order due up. Bonifacio is hitless at 3 at bats.
He's also pitched inside tonight to hitters. You know, he's moved them around a little bit. He's used both sides of the plate. He's just been a really good pitcher, and he's at 109 right now. So the bullpen is getting ready. This will probably be his last inning.
Bonifacio bunts up the third base line, a foul ball. So Scott Air and Chad Durbin both loosening up in that bullpen. And the kind of night where Charlie Manuel could just enjoy a piece of bubble gum.
He loves chewing that gum. Charlie's looking good too. He's really dropping that weight. He's been working at it. You know, I'm sure it's tough, but it's melting off him right now.
Just misses. 2-2. Got him. Slider on the outside corner, his 11th strikeout of the night. That's a new career high. And Blanton now with 5 strikeouts against the last 6 batters.
Yeah.
Mitch Leiden.
Oh, yeah. I know.
On June
Yeah,
16th, 1993.
I'd have known that. Mitch Leiden, huh?
What was that? Chicago. The wind was blowing out at Wrigley Field.
Is that right?
Yep.
Good.
You can log back on to Phillies.com to find out if you're the winner of a Phillies prize pack.
Are we now into the trivia questions of give him no shot?
The last two have been pretty tough. By the way, Mitch Leiden, 6 career games, 3 hits and 10 at-bats. He's a lifetime 300 hitter, don't you know?
Yeah.
Here's Chris LaRue, just called up from Double-A, where he was 2-2. And he'll take over for Andrew Miller here in the bottom of the 7th inning. And the first guy he faces is Ryan Howard. It'll be Howard, Ibanez, and Jason Worth for the Phillies. LaRue is another one of those big guys for the Marlins.
They say he can really throw hard, too. The first fastball is 94.
Marlins have had a lot of problems with their pitching staff this year. We kind of touched on it yesterday. You know, with Ricky Nolasco, who can't figure out where the strike zone is. He was sent down in the minor leagues. Anibal Sanchez has had an aggravation to his arm injury that kept him out most of last year. And Howard reaches out and floats that one on one hop to Uggla. And they've had a dip down to their minor league system a couple different times. Time now for our Citizens Bank Citizen 7. These lucky fans are today's Citizen 7. They will each receive a prize pack courtesy of Citizens Bank. Citizens Bank with the most 7-day branches in the Philadelphia area. To find a branch near you, visit citizensbank.com. LaRue is 6'6", 210 pounds. He is from Mississauga, which is about 45 minutes south of Toronto.
He was born in Montreal.
Born in Montreal and was selected first by the Tampa Bay Rays in '02. He didn't sign. And then drafted by the Marlins in 2005. 9th round by the Rays, 7th round by the Marlins.
Got Baker. Was that hit him in the thumb? What happened there?
I think he was crossed up on it.
Well, there's nobody at second, you know, so you really shouldn't get crossed up on anything. You know, it's pretty simple with the signs. Let's just see what happens. Man, hit him in the. Oh boy, hit him right in the palm there, or in the, you know, the part of the glove where there's not a whole lot of protection. That just hurt. This guy's ball probably moves a little bit, Tom. Maybe he's not used to catching him, and it looked like the movement just fooled him.
And on a cool night too, he's trying to squeeze a little bit, get some feeling back into that hand. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, Gary Sheffield's hit another home run. 3-run shot this time, as the Mets lead the Nationals 6-1 in the bottom of the 7th. I didn't think his ball last night, if you saw any of the replays, was a home run. They looked at the replay to judge whether it was a double or a home run. I thought it was a double, but they decided to call it a home run. They said it was inconclusive on their initial call. Look at Ibanez hustling up the first base line, and he nearly beat it. And they're 2 away.
That guy plays hard. You know, that's another thing we heard about Raul before he came over here, was he will run his ground balls out too. And that doesn't sound like that big a deal, but not everybody does it.
So he's retired, and they're 2 away here at the bottom of the 7th inning. Jason Worth 0 for 3.
He's one of the guys that Wes Helms picked. There's Ryan Madsen will pitch the 8th.
Yeah, Helms has made a couple of really good plays over third base tonight.
Really good plays.
To the gap in right center field. That one slicing away from Ross. It's going to head to the scoreboard. And Jason Worth is going to speed into second base. It's his first base hit in 17 at bats. And that's got to feel good.
Yeah, and he did a good job with the pitch away and took it away. That's one of the ways to get out of a funk. Here it is. It was a fastball, it looked like, and he had a good swing at that.
So he's in scoring position now for Pedro Feliz. Pedro's 1 for 3 tonight with an RBI. He's got another runner in scoring position here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th inning. Oh, that's a pretty good sink on it, didn't it?
Throws hard. He's got a good fastball. Good movement. I think that's what happened with Baker, is that ball just moved on him and it ate him up.
Worth is caught off second base, and the throw, fortunately for Jason, was on the second base side of the bag.
Right. That's another one of those situations where you're already in scoring position with 2 outs. And, you know, he's thinking about stealing third, which is, you know, okay, because there's more ways to score from third, obviously. But with 2 outs, it's one of those things you just don't want to make a mistake out there because you're already in scoring position.
He's got a real good lead off the bag, too. Doesn't go. A liner to left field. That's going to be another base hit for Feliz, and another RBI. Worth is going to score. Pedro heading to second. He's there standing, and the Phillies lead it 5-0.
See, that's why you don't want to get caught off second base and then have to go back in the dugout. Thankfully, Jason got back, and then bang, another RBI by Pedro Feliz on a low fastball, and he hit it hard to left field.
25 RBIs now for Pedro Feliz, 2 tonight. And here's Carlos. Lost in all of the offense that the Phillies have put together the first 2 months of the season has really been the first 2 months that Pedro Feliz has had.
How many runs has he saved, too, with his glove? Just, no, that's a question I obviously don't have the answer to. But it's a lot, because he's such a good third baseman.
Bothered by that sore back for most of the second half of last year.
Ruth throwing fastball, sinking fastball, and slider so far.
In the air to left field, not deep, and the inning is over. But the Phillies tack on yet another run. They've tacked on the last 2 at-bats they've had, and they take a 5-0 lead into the 8th. insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 800-947-AUTO. Center City, Philadelphia, and then back inside Citizens Bank Park, where the Phillies are enjoying a 5-0 lead as we go to the top of the 8th inning.
And not a nice night, but certainly it cleared out enough. They were able to get the ball game, and nobody wanted to have this game postponed, that's for sure, and have to deal with an off day, make it up, or a doubleheader or something like that. So good news, and plus the Phillies are winning the game to this point.
Great outing by Joe Blanton, a career high 11 strikeouts over 7, and Ryan Madson takes over here in the 8th with a 5-0 lead. And a first pitch fastball, and Hermida is down in the count 0-1. Speaking of makeups, the Phillies announced today that on September 13th, that is the opening day of the NFL season, they will have a day-night doubleheader here at Citizens Bank Park against the New York Mets. Part of that game that was rained out the series the Mets were here in town earlier this season. Just missed, so Hermida's still alive. It's 1-2.
It's a good pitch that Brian will throw to left-handed hitters, especially. It's a cut fastball, velocity somewhere around 89, 90.
And then he follows it up with that changeup. Hermida's 0 for 3. The top 3 hitters in this lineup are 1 for 10 as Jack Tashner loosens in the Phillies pen. There's that changeup again, and Hermida's down swinging. 12th time tonight that the Marlins have gone down on strikes, and 1 away. Dusty Baker's Cincinnati Reds are coming to town for a 4-game series right after the July 4th weekend. Monday, July 6th is when the series kicks off. Tuesday the 7th, the Verizon Phillies beach towel will be given out to fans 14 and under. Wednesday the 8th is a 7:05 start, then some fireworks after Thursday's ball game. You can log on to Phillies.com. Even back when the Phillies played at the Vet, they had some of the best fireworks shows going in the Delaware Valley.
Yeah, they're good shows.
Helms 0 for 1.
Expertly choreographed with the music. Fun night.
We used to have those in the minor leagues wheels every so often. And in Trenton, we used to draw very good crowds anyway the first few years of the franchise. And Madsen just shatters Helms' bat. 2 away. And now in minor league baseball, it seems like there are fireworks shows once a week because it just draws such great crowds.
Well, the Phillies used to have 1, and now they have 2. Ryan Madsen really got in his kitchen there and broke that bat in half.
And now 2 outs for Jorge Cantu. I think in the big leagues, the Pirates might do fireworks every Friday night at PNC Park just to draw some extra folks into the stands.
Well, the Phillies put on some show every year for the neighborhood, too, because I know as we're pulling out of here and those fireworks are starting up, there are cars all over the streets.
I have to admit, as I'm heading over the Walt Whitman Bridge, sometimes the fireworks shows are going on. You look back and you watch them a little bit, and there's still cars right up in.
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of people just take it in outside the ballpark, too.
High chopper to third. On the run is Feliz, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Ryan Madsen. Easy top of the 8th inning for Madsen. Boy, the Phillies pitching has been on par tonight, and they lead it by 5. Bottom of the 8th inning, and Greg Dobbs will lead off for Ryan Madson. So Madson pitches a scoreless top of the 8th inning for the Phillies in relief of Joe Blanton, who was outstanding tonight.
Yeah, and Chad Durbin is up in the bullpen to pitch tonight. 4-0, not a save 5-0, not a save situation.
Dobbs 5 for 36 on the year.
We've seen Charlie Manuel go with his closer Brad Lidge. Here's Chad in a 4-0 game because he just feels that 4 runs in this park. He's not real happy, real comfortable with it. Not that he is with 5, but more so that he's going to use Durbin tonight.
Chris LaRue is in his 2nd inning of relief work, and he's going to get Dobbs on a pop up to center. 1 away. Andrew Miller started. He went the first 6. Allowed 4 runs, 2 of which were earned. The error by Hanley Ramirez in the 1st inning allowed the Phillies to jump out to a 3-0 lead. And that was when Jimmy Rollins was at the plate. People wonder about the success of the Phillies so far this year because the pitching has not been where it was last year, but it looks like it's getting into that same kind of rhythm, particularly with the last 4 starts by the Phillies pitchers, or last 5 starts, I should say. One of the reasons why the Phillies have been so good is because their defense has been so good.
Yeah, they do catch the ball well.
And on the flip side, the Marlins, who have committed 1 error tonight, they've made 38 errors.
Well, that error tonight really set the tone, unfortunately, for Florida, and good for the Phillies because it's Jimmy right out of the chute.
Two outs as Helms takes care of Rollins.
That was a changeup. This guy's been throwing a lot of fastball sliders. Threw him a changeup there, and he was way out in front of that.
What a night Shane has had. This game can really bug you for 24 hours. And then you can come back and put together a night like Shane has put together tonight.
One of the good things about it, you don't have to wait a couple days or a week and come back when you've had something that's kind of negative like last night. You have a chance to come right back, get at him tonight, and he's certainly acquitted himself very well. He's hit the ball hard tonight.
He's got a run scored. He's got an RBI, 3 hits overall, a couple of doubles. And Shane's going to have a 4-hit night. How about that? Hit that one toward the end of the bat, but still got enough on it to pick up his 2nd single of the evening. Charlie Manuel, who got on Shane in the dugout last night in the 9th inning. We mentioned that Charlie usually waits till after the game to address a player, maybe even waits 24 hours before he addresses a player about a mistake that he has made. He went right to Shane last night. And I said that to him today. He basically said, I felt like I had to say something right away.
Well, that was one of those ones that he needed to get that off his chest fast, not let that one fester. Charlie does not hold grudges. That's one thing about Charlie. He'll have something happen like that, and he'll get it off his chest, and he'll talk about it. It's over. And then a little fun with Cole Hamels there. Charlie makes it fun for these guys to come to the ballpark every day because he's the same guy. And just being around people that are different, that moods, you wonder who's showing up today, who you have to deal with. You have to be on eggshells. Charlie Manuel, it's not like that for these players. They know what they're going to get, and they appreciate that. Loves that gum. catch on the deflection up there on the deck above us.
Yeah, folks were moaning and booing because the ball looked like it was headed down to the Hall of Fame club or even to the lower deck. And somebody grabbed it before it shot down. Another good crowd on hand tonight, even with the weather being somewhat inclement. More than 42,000 here at the ballpark tonight. And it's a sellout tomorrow. Although there are standing room only tickets that will go on sale tomorrow morning here at the ballpark for the finale of this 3-game series.
This guy has a pretty good changeup. Now that these left-handed hitters are starting to come up, we're starting to see it a little bit. And he's gotten hurt on some fastballs, but his changeup, he really fooled Jimmy Rollins, and he just fooled Utley with one.
And Utley rolls it to Ugla. Forgets about second and just gets Chase hustling up the first base line, and the inning is over. So the Phillies strand 1. We have played 8. They'll go to the 9th, leading at 5-0. The first inning with Jimmy Rollins was picked off of second, trying to stretch an error into an extra base. Then Wes Helms hit a home run against Jamie Moyer after he thought he had him struck out. And then in the 9th inning, Shane Victorino was caught stealing with Matt Stairs at the plate and nobody out as the tying run. Well, things have changed tonight. The Phillies scored 3 in the first, and they've continued to tack on 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, and one of the reasons why that they've been able to take a 5-0 lead into 9th inning is because of that guy, Shane Victorino, who has had an outstanding night. 4 hits, a run scored, 2 doubles, an RBI. And Shane has shaken off that base running mistake last night and has helped the Phillies to a 5-0 lead.
He sure has. And Chad Durbin will come on. Town pitch the 9th inning here. He's been good lately. He's really righted his ship. He was struggling there for a little while. He's had some really good outings lately.
Face John Baker, and he gets him to hit the first pitch toward the middle. Rollins has it, 1 away. Ryan Matson pitched a scoreless 8th inning. 10 in a row retired by the Phillies pitching staff. Tonight, after the ball game, Leslie Adele reports live from the ballpark with locker room reaction. Plus, Derek Gunn reports on the first day of organized team activities for the Eagles. And Ron Burke reports on the Eagles honoring some of the area's best young football talent. That's tonight on Sports Night after the game right here on Comcast Sportsnet. Dan Uggla, the batter, he's 1 for 3. And he takes one in tight. It's 1-0. Uggla 1 for 7 in the series. That seems to be really helping Chad is that he's got some extra movement on those pitches, even if they're up in the zone a little bit.
Well, his slider, he's had trouble with his slider late last year and a little bit this year. And, you know, that's a good pitch for him, the right-handed batters, when he can get a sharp break on it. He was so important to the Phillies' success last year.
And I think that Chan-Ho Park can see what Chad Durbin did last year and maybe make himself a carbon copy of it. Slow roller. It's going to trickle foul. I say that, Wheels, because Durbin came to camp thinking he might have a chance to make the starting rotation.
Well, Chan-Ho Park did a good job for them last night. It saved the bullpen and it kept the game close. He gave up a run, but you didn't have to use, 2 or 3 guys last night. There's Brad Lidge and there is Chan-Ho Park. Nowadays, you get a guy out there that can pitch a couple innings. That's so valuable.
3-2 the count. There's Cody Ross in the on-deck circle. Hot shot foul. And there's a happy fan who stuck around to the end of this ball game.
Now don't throw it. Oh wow, how neat is this?
Count remains full 3-2. Joe Blanton started this game 11 strikeouts over 7 innings. He looked so good the first 4 innings of that game in Cincinnati, and he really carried that over tonight. That's a great picture.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
Ball 4 and Uggla's aboard. The first base runner for the Marlins since the 6th inning when Jorge Cantu reached on an infield single.
Phillies are going to play off Uggla at first base. Doesn't mean anything over there, and take away some room there on the right side.
See Ryan Howard playing behind Dan Uggla. Win tonight, the Phillies will hold on to first place in the National League East. They came into this ball game a half a game ahead of the Mets, a game and a half ahead of the Atlanta Braves. Mets are leading their ball game. The Braves don't start for another half hour out in San Francisco against Tim Lincecum.
Oh boy, that's usually a handful.
To the count to Cody Ross. Last couple hitters fouled off a couple pitches from Chad Durbin. Phillies bullpen commits to this ball game, 5th in the league in ERA at 3.85. A looper into right, another base hit. So Cody Ross has 3 hits in this ball game. Uggla stops at second. And the Marlins have runners on first and second here in the top of the 9th inning. Phillies are on top 5-0. And they just need a couple outs here in the top of the 9th inning to pick up their 25th victory of the year and their 9th here at home as they try to creep closer to the 500 mark.
1 base runner away from a save situation. And I don't know whether Lidge is getting up out there or not. Somebody is.
He's pulling his jacket off. Yeah. So looks like he is going to start the throw just in case this gets a little tight. There's Scott Air who's going to pull his jacket off as well.
And Rich Doobie is going to come out to the mound to talk to Chad Durbin, but that's as much as anything to let those guys who are going to start throwing have a little extra time.
Well, Ross,
nobody was up.
And Ross Gloat is in the on deck circle. He's a left-handed batter. Bonifacio would follow him. There is Scott Ayers, second time he's been up and loosening.
Those guys, Lidge's just checking the lineup card there to see, okay, now if they need me, who am I going to face?
It's all part of the preparation of getting ready to get into a ball game.
Yeah, and they have scouting reports out there in the bullpen too. Mick Billmeyer has them out there with him, and you want to go over the reports on the guys you're going to face. You're able to do that out there. There's Mick, team jester, among other duties.
Chris Coghlan tonight is 0 for 1. Intentionally walked his first time up, walked in the fourth. Phillies lead it 5-0 here in the top of the ninth inning. Coghlan takes an off-speed pitch low, 2-0.
Chewing that gum a little harder.
Yeah, doing a little pacing. And there's a strike. 90-mile-an-hour fastball on the inside part of the plate.
Well, Carlos Ruiz really had a reach for that, and it's surprising he got a strike called on it.
Tried to backdoor him a little bit with that one. It didn't come back all the way, so it's 3-1. There is Ross Gload in the on-deck circle. The Marlins have Gload and Ronnie Paulino left. That's it. They've used their other two reserves tonight. Ball four. The bases are now loaded. So a couple walks and a base hit for Chad Durbin. And Charlie Manuel is going to go out and get him and bring in the left-hander, Scott Ayers, to face the left-hander hitting Ross Gload. That is, once Gload is introduced. And there is Scotty. Freddie Gonzalez is waiting. Looks like there's a little cat and mouse going on. And now he points toward Ross Gload, and the home plate umpire John Hirschback has him introduced into the ball game. And here comes Charlie Manuel. So that's going to be it for Chad Durbin. He faces four batters in tonight's ball game. Walks a couple, allows a base hit, gets one out. And this ball game now is in the comfortable hands of left-hander Scott Ayers, who's going to come into the game. Weekend series here at the ballpark. It finishes off on Sunday at 1:30 after a couple games on Comcast Sportsnet. Sunday's ball game will be on MyPHL 17. Behind the Pinstripes will be before that, and the Charlie Manuel television show will be before that on Sunday. Well, it's gotten a little tight here at Citizens Bank Park. Top of the ninth inning. Scott Ayers comes in with the bases loaded. into his 19th game, no wins, a loss, and a 3.48 ERA.
Well, obviously they were hoping Chad Durbin would have a clean inning and get the game over with, and he got the first out on one pitch and then started to struggle after that. So this is now a save situation because the tying run is in the on-deck circle.
See the base runners. We saw Dan Uggla at third, Cody Ross at second, and now Chris Coughlin at first base.
And as a result, Lidge is up in the bullpen. So this could be a one batter appearance for Air, and then bring Brad Lidge into a save, a potential save situation. There he is.
And Bonifacio has already put his other helmet on in the on-deck circle, thinking he's going to bat from the right side. He may not. Ross Glode has been introduced as the pinch hitter for the Marlins. Lefty against lefty. Outside, 1-0.
Now, first things first is Scott Air has to get after Glode here.
Scott Air has never faced Ross Glode in his career. Glode a .279 hitter overall. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. Charlie talking to Pete McCannon, his bench coach. There is Brad firing away in the bullpen.
Yeah, they're talking about how'd this get all of a sudden. How'd this get a little squirmy? This was just sailing along in this one.
Sailing along because Joe Blanton was outstanding tonight. 11 strikeouts over 7 innings.
He was good.
And now it's 3-0 to Ross Glode. Phillies got a run earlier in the ball game on a bases loaded walk. There's Emilio Bonifacio in the on-deck circle. Glode's been really good with the bases loaded.
Trouble with control for Chad Durbin. Then Scott comes in. Scott Air comes in, throws 3 balls. That's Brian Sanchez. He used to be with the Phillies.
Another strike by Air. It's 3-2. Good control to the outside part of the plate. Chad Durbin looking on. Charlie Manuel chewing on. 3-2 the count to Glode. Hot shot toward first, scooped up by Howard to second. Oh, right past Jimmy Rollins. 1 run scores, the second run's going to score, and that's going to be the first error of the season for Ryan Howard.
Unbelievable. He's been so good, and he was so confident there, just throwing it. He just get 1 out at second base, and he threw it away. I mean, he gives Jimmy no chance to catch this ball. Glode hits it hard, but right at him, and he decides, well, I'm going to go get this easy out here. Wow.
That thing just kept on sailing away from Jimmy.
That was a tailing fastball.
So Charlie Manuel now is heading out to the mound because he's going to bring in his closer, Brad Lidge. And this is now a 5-2 game. Phillies were looking for their first shutout of the season, and they weren't able to do that here in the 9th inning. So Air's night is done after just 1 batter, and he'll give way to Brad Lidge, who will come on here with 1 away in the top of the 9th inning. Emilio Bonifacio will go change his helmet, and we'll tell you about Brad Lidge. now on to try to save it for the Phillies and for Joe Blanton. Lidge into his 22nd game. No wins, 2 losses, 8 saves and 12 opportunities. Brad has blown his last 2 save opportunities, excuse me. First time since 06 that he's done that. And he'll come on with 2 runners on base and the potential tying run at the plate. Opposition hitting .337 overall against Brad. Now, Brad said after Sunday's game against the Yankees that blown save was totally different than the one on Saturday. He just felt that the Yankees had a couple swibbers that enabled them to get some base runners. And, he felt good physically, and Charlie Manuel has maintained that Brad is the Phillies closer. And he said, why wouldn't he be? Well, here goes Emilio Bonifacio, 1 for 3 lifetime against Lidge.
Got to watch this guy that bunt, too. They're going to guard the line, play up on him.
He takes a fastball in tight, 1-0. Joe Blanton started this game with the first 7. Shut out the Marlins on 5 hits and 11 strikeouts. Two 2-0 the count. Bonifacio is hitless in 4 at-bats for the Marlins. Phillies play the infield back, with the exception of the cornermen. And now 3-0 to Bonifacio. Ball 4 and the bases are loaded. Oh boy.
Well, no defense against walks and errors.
And the Marlins have their fastest runner over at first base. See, last year with Brad, 2-0. With a 1.95 ERA, he allowed just 15 earned runs in 72 games. He's already allowed 20 earned runs in 21 games. Here's Jeremy Hermida. And Hermida takes a slider for a strike, and it's 0-1. That one dropped in at 86 miles an hour. Hermida has 2 hits and 3 at-bats against Brad for his career. Phillies infield is set up to turn 2, trying to get out of this inning and not give the Marlins and their dugout any thought of staying in this game. Seen some pretty good numbers tonight with bases loaded for a lot of guys. And you see Coghlan on third. Load on second base. Bonifacio on first. 1-2 the count. Broke his bat. And he's still alive. Top end of that bat went over toward first base. Andy Fox is going to retrieve that. Good thing Andy Fox has all that armor on. That came flying over toward him. 1 ball, 2 strikes, the count to Hermida. Lidge goes to work again. And again, Hermida fouls it off. Bouncer right side. Howard has it, flips to Lidge covering first, 2 away. A run scores, and it's now 5-3. The Phillies lead is down to 2, but they need just 1 more out. Coghlan scores from third, and now the tying run is in scoring position of the Toyota Major League scoreboard. Livan Hernandez improved to 4-1 as the Mets defeated the Nationals 6-1. Freddie Gonzalez's squad was down 5-0 when this inning began. Well, here's Helms. Helms is 0 for 2 tonight. He had 4 RBIs last night. And it takes a pitch for a strike, and included in those 4 RBIs, this 3-run bomb.
Yeah, that was off Jamie Moyer with a changeup out over the plate after he thought he may have had him struck out on the pitch before that.
Helms has 3 hits and 10 at bats lifetime against Lidge. Comes inside against him. It's 1-1. Phillies fans, as Brad Lidge was introduced tonight, they gave him a very nice round of applause as he came into this ballgame. See, Brad has allowed 3 hits, but he's also struck him out 6 times. He lays off. It's 2-1. Bouncer toward third. Foul ball. Pedro kept looking at the home plate umpire. The third base umpire, Marvin Hudson, behind him, put his hands up. So now it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Hey, Pedro wasn't going to take any chances.
Not at all.
Said, I'm not turning into an umpire.
Helms doesn't run well, and he fired over to first. What's left of this crowd of more than 42,000 on a cold, rainy night here in Philadelphia to their feet as Brad Lidge tries to save it for Joe Blanton. 2-2 the count to Wes Helms. Now time is called. And nearly got him biting on that slider, and he just barely got a piece of it. Both managers probably running some scenarios through their head. Carlos Ruiz wanted another quick word with Lidge. Helms digs in. The 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He got him on another slider. And Wes Helms is down on strikes. And Brad Lidge saves his 9th ball game of the season. Oh, the stomachs were churning here in Philadelphia. The Phillies with a 5-0 lead hang on and win it 5-3 over the Florida Marlins. And Lidge gets the 2-out save. And there you see the final score. The Phillies have taken game 2 of this 3-game